Good morning.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to today's session about monitoring impact. My name is Melek De-Wint. I'm an independent impact measurement and management consultant. I'm based in Quebec City, Canada, and I work internationally with social purpose organizations around the world to support them in understanding, measuring, and managing their impact. So we all know that data is powerful. Why is it powerful? Because it makes us better. It helps us make better decisions. It shows us which programs are working well, hitting the mark, and it also shows us where we need to improve. But for organizations like WorldSkills, it's also important not for internal purposes, but for also external purposes. It also allows them to make a strong case of support for attracting private and public partners. So in this session, we're going to explore how impact monitoring can strengthen the WorldSkills movement worldwide, but how it can also contribute to the more global, more general development agenda. So I'd like to give you an overview of our session, how our session is structured. Today we're going to share you some results about a recent research project about the impact of WorldSkills membership on national systems. And we're going to look into what kind of data is available among the members, among national members of WorldSkills, in terms of the changes and impacts experienced by stakeholders. We're going to see what kind of gaps there are and what kind of opportunities there are. And these research findings is going to shape frame our conversations for today's session. And the research project is commissioned by WorldSkills Global Research Council, and we're going to hear a little bit about the Research Council, what it is, what it does. And then we have two member organizations here, UK, WorldSkills UK and WorldSkills Malaysia. We're going to hear their perspectives in terms of, what their take on is about these research findings, and also how they position their WorldSkills membership in their national systems, and how they measure and manage their data, their impact data. And we also have BASF today with us, who's going to share with us their industry perspective. They are going to share how they measure impact, but they're also going to share what kind of impact data is important for an industry partner in terms of sort of supporting WorldSkills to showcase its impact and attract more support. And finally, we're going to link this all back to SDGs, because everything WorldSkills does links back to SDGs. Maybe quality education and decent work and economic growth are obvious ones, but when you look at different skills actually bring different SDGs to the forefront. We're also going to discuss how WorldSkills International or WorldSkills data, impact data, can help demonstrate the role of TVET in terms of achieving SDGs, in terms of advancing SDGs. So before we start, I would like to introduce our panel speakers. So James Robson, to my left is the director of the Oxford University Centre for Skills, Knowledge and Organisational Performance, and an associate professor of tertiary education systems. He's a member of the WorldSkills Global Research Council, and he focuses on how education and training impact economies. And next to James, we have Mahuran Sariki, and Mahuran is the Senior Vice President of Group Research Development Policy at Talent Corp under Malaysia's Minister of Human Resources. Mahuran regularly shares insights at industry events, and actually I heard she just came from the UAE from another speaking engagement, and she speaks on talent retention and the future of work in the digital era. And on the other side, we have Emma Roberts. Emma is the Director of External Affairs at WorldSkills UK. She oversees partnerships, public affairs, marketing and communications. Emma has been with the organization for almost 6 years, and she has worked on key reports about digital skills, investment and low carbon economy skills. And Rocío Maldonado González is the head of Global Training Solutions, Automotive Refinish business at BASF. Rocío is with BASF since 1999. Rocío's main interest and passion lies in training and finding young talent, and she's been training staff and customers of BASF for over 20 years. And finally, Neil Bentley-Gockmann is the CEO of the Whitehall and Industry Group in the UK. And he's an honorary member of WorldSkills and chair of the WorldSkills Global Research Council. And previously, he was CEO of WorldSkills UK for 8 years. So a warm welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you for being here. Okay, so I said in the beginning that we are going to be sharing with you some research project results to frame our conversation. But as I again said, this research was commissioned by Global Research Council. So Neil, can I hand over to you to tell us a little bit about the Global Research Council? What is it, what it does, what is its mission? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melek, and good morning, everybody. So just a bit of context on the WorldSkills research agenda. WorldSkills has been doing research for a number of years, and if I go back to WorldSkills London in 2011, we did a significant piece of research which was looking at the impact of WorldSkills that it could have. Fast forward to WorldSkills Abu Dhabi in 2017, and again, we were discussing the need for more research to demonstrate the impact of WorldSkills activities. That led to a research report on youth voice that we conducted with the OECD and was presented at WorldSkills Kazan in 2019. And of course, we had COVID, so there was a bit of an abeyance in the research activities. But we've come back stronger. So in 2022, we decided to establish the WorldSkills Research Council to give this a firmer grounding within the WorldSkills portfolio of activities. And that convenes WorldSkills research partners like the ILO, OECD, World Bank, UNESCO, Univoc, Adelaide University, Oxford University, and IBW Austria. And we've been convening monthly to work on some research. Because the terms of reference for the Research Council are threefold. We have three goals. One is to monitor the ever-changing world of work and to help WorldSkills understand some of the changes that are going on, and for members to engage and share information with us and with each other on what's going on in their countries. The second is then to develop positions to contribute to policy making and giving WorldSkills a voice in terms of some of the big agendas that are going on. And the third is to monitor and actually conduct action research on the impact of WorldSkills activities and the impact that WorldSkills can have. And that's the research that we've been working on for the past year that James is going to talk to now.
Well, thank you very much, James. Over to you.
Thank you. Let's see. So, hi everybody. I'm going to start off by presenting a short summary of our report on some of the ways WorldSkills can be a catalyst for system change. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at the executive summary already, but if not, it's available via the conference app. As Neil mentioned, this work has been produced through the WorldSkills Global Research Council and comprises analysis of a survey of members on the impact of WorldSkills and case studies of 2 specific member countries. The survey was conducted in 2021 and received 50 responses. Now, it wasn't designed to give insight into systems change, but the responses offer a useful starting point for beginning to develop a deeper understanding of the relationship between WorldSkills and national policy contexts. As such, it offers insight into the potential for members to be real, significant, and positive change makers in their skills systems. Therefore, the aim of the report is to start a research-informed conversation about how we can best support members to realise the potential impact of WorldSkills and drive social and economic change. But before I share the findings, I want to first thank Yushin Shi, a research fellow in scope at Oxford University, for putting the report together. Yushin over there. And colleagues in the Global Research Council. Yes, please do. Thanks, Yushin. And colleagues in the Global Research Council for helping to shape it. So, our analysis is rooted in an approach that conceptualizes education and training, E&T, as a complex system comprising multiple overlapping aspects, organizations, and actors. This provides a useful framework for thinking about the different kinds of impact WorldSkills has and might potentially have on the system as a whole. As illustrated here, we can think about impact as taking place across three interrelated levels: macro, meso, and micro. The macro level relates to the state, national policy, social discourse, and the economy. The meso level relates to key organizational stakeholders, primarily education and training providers and employers. And the micro level relates to relevant individuals, trainers, trainees, WorldSkills competitors. Now, survey responses suggest that members have the potential to have impact across all three areas of their skills system and potentially shape the system as a whole. At the macro level, we identified three major kinds of impact. Firstly, most members reported that the integration of WorldSkills methodologies and international standards had a positive impact on national approaches to E&T policy, particularly quality and standard setting. For example, Costa Rica emphasized the importance of international knowledge transfer and skill standards for driving policy discussions about quality in TVET. Secondly, impacts can be seen in terms of macro-level social discourses, with half of responding members reporting positive changes in their society's perception of TVET through WorldSkills. Competitions and the celebration of vocational skills were viewed as inspiring young people and shifting negative assumptions about vocational pathways. Switzerland, for example, emphasized how media attention around WorldSkills was critical in raising the profile of TVET. The third key potential macro impact relates to the economy. However, only a few members discussed this, and those that did only referred to the economic change and productivity in vague aspirational rather than concrete terms. This indicates potential for impact, but clearly more work is required to conceptualize the relationship between WorldSkills and national economies and delivering specific impact in this area. At the meso level, 2/3 of responding members reported that WorldSkills had shaped key organizations, particularly enhancing teaching and learning in schools and colleges. Participation was emphasized as underpinning improved curricula and enhanced pedagogic practices while supporting the development of organizational infrastructure and program design. Colombia, for example, particularly highlighted how WorldSkills supported inter-organizational relationship building. A similar number of members reported that participating in WorldSkills also benefited employers, providing a platform for skills-based innovation, boosting workforce development, and connection with other sectors. For example, Malaysia emphasized how employers benefited from WorldSkills through exposure to cutting-edge techniques, tools, and knowledge, enabling them to update their products, services, and workforce. So there's a wealth of data on the micro-level impact, with nearly all respondents emphasizing positive changes for individuals. Preparation for and participation in competitions were viewed as ensuring competitors gained ongoing learning in line with international standards. This enhanced learning outcomes, skills recognition, socio-emotional skills, career prospects, and social mobility. Both Ghana and China, for example, explicitly emphasized the link between competitions and enhanced career outcomes for competitors. At the same time, nearly all members also reported that WorldSkills involvement significantly benefited experts, teachers, and trainers. Supporting competitors was viewed as enhancing professionals' technical and teaching skills and their expertise, while also providing a framework for network building at a global level, all of which enhance their career prospects as well as their professional practice. Now, I very briefly highlighted some of the positive impacts that WorldSkills can have across multiple levels of skills and E&T systems. This provides a starting point for thinking about the interrelated nature of these impacts, and when taken together, they can be seen as a potential mechanism for how WorldSkills might change and improve systems in holistic terms. However, the data we have is limited, and we urgently need more concrete examples to fully conceptualize systemic impact. At the same time, our analysis suggests that the potential for WorldSkills members to drive real change in their E&T systems is not being fully realized. The strategic approaches of members vary enormously, and impacts tend to be thought of in terms of micro-level change. Ambition for meso and macro-level impact and whole systemic change is limited. This suggests a potential misalignment between the strategic vision of WorldSkills to foster a global skills movement and drive social improvements and economic growth, and the operational goals of members. As such, more work is needed to support members to think about system change in broader terms and put this ambition at the heart of their organizational strategies. As a key part of this, we need to continue developing a more detailed understanding of the mechanisms, processes, and conditions that enable members to maximize impact and catalyze system change that addresses local challenges, economic growth, and societal transformation through sustainable TVET development.
Thank you very much, James, for sharing these key findings. And it is really exciting to see. I understand there's gaps in data, but it's exciting to see the potential and the potential of this data for shaping WorldSkills' future in terms of looking at its global impact in a strategic way. So thank you very much for sharing that. So I would like to move on to our speakers from the UK and Malaysia to share with us the members' perspective on these findings. So, Mauron, I would like to start with you. What do these findings mean for you in Malaysia, and what does it mean in terms of positioning WorldSkills membership in Malaysia in your national system?
Thank you, Melek. Okay, first of all, of course, I would like to say thank you to my two deputy ministers are here and my colleagues from Malaysia who support these WorldSkills competitions. And I can see that the report on the research that James highlighted just now is very good findings. But of course, there's some areas that we need to improve. Okay, in terms of the Malaysia, we can see that based on our implementations, I will just highlight two parts. First, this is actually to enhance our curriculums of TVET that meet to the international standard. Why we need that is because we want to make sure that the students are well equipped with all the skills required and follow the international standard. And of course, the second one is to upgrade our institutions with the training equipment and also the materials that comply to the international industry standards. Yeah, there are I would say that two things that we emphasize on that. And even in Malaysia, I would like to emphasize from the government perspective, we have two documents. Yeah, we call it 12 Malaysia Plan and also the National TVET Policy that identify the 4 TVET strategy, which I'll just summarize here, is to improve our labour market, to make sure that we accelerate to the economic growth, and of course we transform the TVET that meet our industrial demand. And the third one is to strengthen our lifelong learnings for skill enhancement, which I believe yesterday the speakers from other slots, they discussed that on that. And of course, the fourth one is to improve the quality of the TVET educations and enhance our industrial lead curriculums. So you can see that Malaysia have, I would say that participate this world scale competition since 1993 and until today, right? And I would say it's a good sign. And of course, from the statistic, I can see there are few medals that being received to the students. And of course, before we go to the international level, from the national level, we do have a series of competitions. Just to mention, we have the World Skill Youth competitions, and we also have the World Skill competition among the trainers of the TVET. And the third one, also we go to the schools. Remember our previous slot mentioned that, we need to do awareness since from the schools, right? This is the most important part. So you can see that that's how we apply this to that. So I think I'll stop here. Maybe we can discuss a little, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mauran. Emma, can I invite you to share the UK perspective?
Thank you, Melek. Yes, I just want to say thank you to the Global Research Council for the research that's been published. I think it's really helpful. It shows the scale of the opportunity, I think, for WorldSkills International and for the movement to kind of collaborate to do nationally based impact measurement and research, but then the opportunity to pull that together to benefit the whole movement and to benefit all of us as national members, to show just the scale of what we can do as a movement. So I really welcome it. Obviously, it shows where the gaps are, but I think, incrementally, we can make really good progress on that. And obviously, all WorldSkills members have different objectives set for different reasons, but I think that's why the kind of the different levels that James talked through is really helpful. So whether it's at the micro, the meso, or the macro level, any of that impact data, when we pull it all together, is going to be really powerful.
Thank you very much, Emma. Actually, if we can stay with you, and Mauran, I'm going to come back to you with a second question as well. Can you tell us, because we talked about data gaps, data availability, and that data comes from the national members. So can you tell us a little bit about your impact measurement activity? How do you measure and manage your impact in WorldSkills UK?
Yeah, of course. So we've done a variety of different studies on our impact. So some of it has been very quantitative, and motivated according to our funding arrangements. So we have done a piece of work which showed for the UK government, who provide some of our funding, what the return on their investment has been. And that was a very specific piece of work, which was set where the criteria and the data that you can include is set by the UK government. So it showed that for every £1 that they invest in WorldSkills UK, the UK government gets a £3.50 return on investment, which is obviously showing a huge impact for the programs that we run. Actually, that didn't include what we think some of our broader impacts have been. So it's based on things like the increase in salary that competitors have as a result of their competition experience. It's based on the careers impact, so inspiring young people to go and gain higher level qualifications. What it doesn't include, which we aspire to do in the future, is the impact on the business community. So, for example, their higher revenues and higher tax receipts from businesses having greater productivity from the kind of skills that they're able to access through our programs. We've also done some other quantitative data around the salary increase uplift that competitors have. So we found that on average, young people that go through our national and international competition programs have a 60% higher average earning than those who don't, of a similar cohort. So again, a really impactful measure. But we, aside from the quantitative, we do lots of case study work. So where we don't quite have the right methodology to produce an answer at scale, it's still really useful to have case study work. And particularly on some of our newer programs where we're working specifically with educators to provide CPD for them, case studies are really impactful. So for example, showing that for the educators that work on our Centre of Excellence programme, the apprentices that they work with have more of them achieve distinction than those who don't. So it's it's a real variety.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Emma. Clearly, WorldSkills UK has gone far beyond from just having testimonials to have really sort of solid hard data, but it's also nice to hear that you haven't lost your case studies and the quality, because that's what brings data numbers to life, and it always has to be together. So thank you very much for sharing that. Mahuran, how does WorldSkills Malaysia measure and monitor their impact?
Okay, Melek. Okay, for Malaysia, we do have a tracer study. Okay, the recent tracer study that we do is in 2021. So the indicator that we use, of course, we look into the enhancements of the skills of the students and also the employment based on the data. The students who are in TVET, they got a job. More than 99%. I would say 100%. I can say here is 100%. Those who study TVET skills, they got a jobs, yeah. And those who attended the international competitions, they even being we call that offered, to work with all these multinational companies. So it's a good sign. And on that, so this is how we do that. And of course, we also give them. This is where, from based on the data, we also want to promote the TVET. Yesterday, I heard in one of the slot that how TVET relate to the education, because it's still stigma, right? People don't take the TVET studies, but this is where we, the government, and of course the agency under under the Ministry of Information and all those ministries who are related to that will do continuous promotions, which we believe that TVET is the key for the economic growth. And even just to keep you the numbers, and Malaysia have a 32 million populations, and about there are 17 million of labour force, and 30% in the high skill job, and 58% in the semi skill, which is, we call it a TVET related. So it shows, you can see that from the statistics, the TVET is very important in our economic sector. So that's how we measure our this. In terms of the funding also, we always got a full support from the government, based on the result of the tracer study.
Thank you very much, Mahuran. So, James, I think this is promising, what we've been hearing from UK and Malaysia in terms of how they are measuring and managing their impact, and hopefully there are more stories like this in the WorldSkills sort of ecosystem and national membership, that all of this data can be brought together at a global scale to develop a global evidence base for the value and impact of WorldSkills movement. So I would like to stay on topic on the impact measurement and management topic, but I would like to change our perspective from national organizations to an industry partner. So we have Rocío with us from BASF. Before we go into your thoughts about the research findings, while we are talking about impact measurement, can you tell us a little bit about your training programs and how you, as an industry partner, measure the impact of your training programs?
Yes, thank you, Melek. So just to keep you aware of what we are doing, we are really focused in one skill, is the people who want to be a painter, refinishing painter. So we prepare and design our training programs in both directions to keep our people, our staff, very well trained, to teach them how to do their job properly and how to be efficient. So the easiest way we have to measure how good our training programs are is collecting the profitability at the paint shops. So how good they are in every single repair job they are doing in terms of time and consumption. So that means that the training program is performing well. And if we detect a gap or a difference between what it was expected, then we reinforce this training in cascade. So we have dealers all over the world, and we have the Train the Trainer program, but we have also some hybrid systems, learning systems, due to the shortage of painters. And this is one of the most difficult and struggling topics we have in our industry, how to motivate young people and their parents, the big influencers, that the future for their children is in a vocation, like to be a painter, because the industry is requiring them a lot.
Thank you very much, Rocío, for sharing that. And now I would like to get your thoughts about the findings, the research findings that James has just presented. So what does that mean? What those findings mean for you from an industry global partner perspective? And also, what kind of data would be useful for an industry partner from the perspective of, again, WorldSkills, for WorldSkills to collect, so that you can achieve your common goal with WorldSkills?
Yeah, first of all, I believe there is a before and an after WorldSkills is performing. We were participating for many years, and we are still participating in the local Spain skill, Portugal skills, so the countries I was responsible for in the past, and the visibility of the skill and the perception in the society for these vocational skills is highly appreciated now. It's more visible, and they recognize the value behind. But there is still a lot to do, I believe. And which kind of impact data could be useful for us as an industry? We are now positioning in like a connector between the young talent and the employers, so the big body shops, the OEM brands that are really looking forward to recruiting new young talent, and they don't find it. And I believe that we have to be humble and recognize that perhaps there is still a gap between the expectations about this young talent they are expecting from the job and what the body shops can offer or are offering right now. Many of the recruiters belong to Generation X, and most of the people looking for a job belongs to Generation Z. So there is still a gap in between, and it would be very useful for us if you, from WorldSkills, could somehow help us to understand why do we have still such a big level of people giving up? They start the skill, they want to be a painter, but finally they are not working as painters. What is happening in between is a question of difference of expectations, is something we have to work from the industry to improve, of course, because what is a real fact is that there is a big lack of painters in the market, but there are also many countries with a big rate of unemployment, young talent. So it would be really, really helpful for us to know which are the reasons that make our young talent to give up being a painter and try to work on it. From a humble point of view, recognizing that everyone has his own part of responsibility on that, but being positive in future that we can move this trend.
Thank you very much for that, Rocío, for sharing that perspective. Before we move on, I just wanted to check with Emma and Mahuran whether you had any sort of insights into what Rocío just said about, what the type of data that would be useful for them as a global partner, as an industry partner.
I mean, we work with industry partners in the UK, and being able to kind of report on the impact and particularly gear our programs and our evidence towards their real life challenges. Skills gaps, are present all over the UK economy in every sector. And so, yeah, we need to be agile as a WorldSkills member and be able to show that our programs are tackling today's challenges and even tomorrow's challenges, you know, being ambitious because we know what skills gaps there will be in the future as well. So it's absolutely relevant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, for Malaysia, we work closely. We work closely with the industry. For example, in the E&E sector, we know that you can see that the business evolve very fast, right? So we want to make sure that the skills needed by the industry is casted down to the students, and there's a program that we start from the school level. So we identify that and they go to that program, and after that program complete, they will be attached to the industry. So in other words, we call it that the industry collaboration is very important, and of course there is a gap too, but we need to enhance it based on the data, and we need to improve it every year, right? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Moran. So we talked a lot about data, impact measurement, what is important, what kind of impact data is important for us. I wonder how we can basically bring it back to maybe a more common shared global agenda. And I'm wondering whether SDGs is a good framework for us to consider in terms of bringing it all back to. And I mean, when we think about WorldSkills, its activities, probably one of the first SDGs that come to our mind is quality education, SDG 4, or decent work and economic growth, SDG 8. So these are maybe the overarching ones. But when we look at, well, depending on which skill we are talking about, each skill brings forward different types of SDGs that we were talking about in the last couple of days in the sessions. So, for example, yesterday I attended a session and we were talking about the role of TVET in green transition. So when we think about that, and I want to go back to Neil now, what is the Global Research Council's vision or focus, or is there a vision or focus in terms of how this can all support to demonstrate, showcase the impact of TVET in achieving SDGs?
Thank you, Melek. So I think for the first step for the Global Research Council has been about getting established and demonstrating the impact of WorldSkills. And I think through this research, it takes us into a much broader perspective, as you're saying, because I think it shows the potential and the opportunity for WorldSkills to be playing a much more positive, progressive role in terms of system change, which feeds into the SDG framework. And, when I look at the SDG update and on impact, there is an absence of data on skills, which is shocking, I think. And not just because there isn't any data, but because of what you've just said, that skills are an enabler for so much else in terms of economic growth and green transition and clean energy transition, just for example, that if we don't have that data, that will hold everybody back. So I think there is something for WorldSkills and the Research Council to think about in terms of how we position WorldSkills. WorldSkills will now be embarking on a new 10-year vision out to 2035. And I think there is a role for all members and, of course, the Research Council as well to feed into that, to make sure that we are joining up strategically the role that WorldSkills can play in terms of achieving SDGs. And as we look ahead, I think, to WorldSkills Shanghai in 2026 and WorldSkills Aichi in 2028, there is a pathway for us, I think, to think about how we grow this conversation around the impact of WorldSkills, the research that we will need to do to keep moving that forward. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity for the Council, but for WorldSkills members and WorldSkills internationally to start to think more strategically, more confidently, based on this research about the role that WorldSkills can play in meeting its own strategic objectives for changing the world through the power of skills.
Thank you very much, Neil. It's really exciting to hear the Research Council's and WorldSkills vision in linking WorldSkills impact to SDGs. So we will watch that space. So before we wrap up our panel discussion and move on to Q&A, I have one last question for our panelists. So I would like to ask you, what is the key takeaway or call to action you would like to leave our audience with today in terms of regarding monitoring impact? And I would like to start with James.
Thank you. I think that the key point that I'd want to really emphasise is the potential here is enormous. The role that WorldSkills members can play in their home countries is huge. There is a real potential for systemic change and a systemic role in people's lives, organisations, social discourses and the economy. We just need to be bold and ambitious in really embedding them into strategic goals and strategic operational levels and working patterns. So that kind of organizational point is absolutely critical. But beyond that, I think there's an international aspect that we need to build, which is coherent theories of change that really get to the heart of what it is that we're doing within that process of change and systemically shaping the economies and societies in which we operate. So those are the kind of the key takeaways, like be ambitious, and we need to theorize this process carefully.
Okay, my key takeaway regarding the monitoring impact, I just want to share the English poem. Okay, through careful steps, we find a way and build tomorrow day by day. For monitoring with thoughtful care, bring lasting change beyond compare. And my last sentence is, I've used the local language, jom ke TVET, TVET memberi kerjaya yang terjamin. And I translate to English, let's go to TVET, TVET brings a brighter career. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go.
Thank you. That's hard to top. But my key message is from my own journey at WorldSkills UK is that impact is literally everywhere and you don't always know when you're going to find it. So to just give you a quick anecdote, we had one of our former competitors speaking at an event in Parliament who just happened to mention by accident that he'd been encouraging his employer to use more robotics, which was a new concept for them. And that just gives us so much immediate impact, both in terms of the productivity that that employer can gain, but also just the confidence and the innovation that being part of competitions gives to our young professionals. So once you capture those insights, you can then be more organized about how you capture that impact data, the sorts of questions that you're asking and the kind of data that you're gathering. But the key message is to look for impact everywhere.
Okay, so I would say that from our side, impact data is beyond impressions. It's really guiding us in true action plans to be implemented to improve the current situation. And I believe that WorldSkills has and will have a role play, important play here. And this is the place we want to be as an industry, also together connected. But definitely impact data is giving us a path to follow.
Thank you. And finally, I think it is simply about thinking about data and all WorldSkills members really thinking hard about what data they're collecting and how they're using it to demonstrate impact. Because as the research showed, the common asset that we all share is the competition-based training. But to think beyond that, so the competition-based training is a means to a higher end, whether that's the meso or macro level, and to think big and to think ambitiously and to think confidently about the impact that you're having within your skill system and the impact that WorldSkills can have globally and the contribution you can make to that is a really, I think, challenging but really positive opportunity for us all.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of our panel speakers for their thought-provoking contributions today. I think they are leaving us with a lot of food for thought regarding impact, the role of impact. We're not finishing. It's just this is just to signal that this is the end of our panel discussion. And now we can take some questions from the floor if we have any questions. Please.
Hello, everyone. This is Fatma from Bahrain, Middle East. Basically, I'm the head of youth development. I know TVET is very important, and I believe in it, and we're trying to adopt mostly all the mechanism that's been discussed here yesterday. But I was wondering, how can maybe my questions is for James, how can we basically get data from soft skills? How can we measure soft skills? I know soft skills are very important as well, but it's really hard to measure, soft skills. I don't know who can answer me. You're not getting. Thank you.
It's a very challenging aspect, of course, and there are lots of ways of going about it. And one of the big tensions I think that we have is that when we're looking at large data sets, we go into a kind of quantitative aspect, and that often overlooks some of those softer, more transferable meta skills and how they're deployed as well. And so really, I think the only way of not just getting lists of them and understanding, but also understanding how they're deployed, what they're made up of, is to go in and do qualitative research, do in-depth kinds of case studies, and really get to the heart of it. And one of the really important reasons for doing that kind of qualitative work, although it is perhaps more labor-intensive, is that it helps to contextualize transferable skills. It's really easy to talk about them in a vague kind of way, talk about kind of communication or critical thinking. But actually, almost always they're related to key aspects of knowledge. They might be related to key technical skills. And so they're always contextualized. And you need to go into the workplace, talk to people to really understand that. So that's how I think it needs to be done. It's labor intensive and maybe expensive, but those sorts of qualitative case studies are absolutely key.
Okay, I just would like to share. I agree with you. To measure the soft skill is very difficult compared to the technical skills. I agree with James also. We should go to the job, the occupations, the jobs related to that, and yes, we need to identify, and all those indicators, how these communications skills are important to the certain occupations needed by this. So it's not easy. It's not. We need to deep dive, and talk to people, do the to the persons who do the work, and then of course a profiling is also a profiling of the individuals also important, because we should know the assessment of each and base and to match the skills needed when he or she wants to perform the job.
Please, Neil? Oh, you don't have a microphone. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Just to highlight that on the question of soft skills, that from WorldSkills London in 2011, there was a big piece of research done called MOVE, and on our Global Research Council we had the author. I worked across the UK and Australia and Finland to look at that research. Susan, you can say a bit more.
Hi. So the Modelling Vocational Excellence Project occurred during WorldSkills London 2011. We surveyed 900 competitors and measured the attributes that they have that made them world leaders on the global stage. What was their vocational excellence? So it is doable quantitatively, but it took a lot of work. And the Finnish research partner, Petri Nokalainen, developed a model using statistical methods. And so we were actually able to measure what were the Soft skills, which particular attributes was it that got the various team members from being in the squad to the team to gold medal level? And that report does actually highlight those different attributes and the ones that it took for them to win gold.
The WorldSkills website.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for these presentations. My name is Yamal. I head the Polytechnics in Mauritius. More of a comment, really. You know, especially when I heard Neil talking about the fact that there's the next 10-year strategy. You know, one of the really beneficial aspects of the monitoring impact and data coming out of so many subsequent competitions is also seeing relative differences. Who's been doing well and who's progressively been doing well over time. As we measure and track that, I think if we can have this repository, it really can inform other countries in terms of the next better alternative rather than the best practice. I come from a developing country. Oftentimes, the requirements, and especially traveling within Africa, etc., you see so many of the artisans and craftsmen's training that when you get inspired from a best practice, it goes over your head. It's so it comes from such an industrialized place that there is a fear factor in wanting to connect with that, rather than the next better alternative. So if incrementally we can almost have a map to be able to show what's the next best in all these areas, then you really can plug yourself in to be able to say, let me learn from this, rather than what you usually would know from research, etc. So I think this would be very, very interesting. Certainly we would use that, and I think a number of different countries that I've traveled with in Africa would utilize this. Thank you very much.
So just to respond, yes, the part of the work that we've been thinking about in terms of international benchmarking and looking at why countries are doing better progressively over time and thinking about what have they done within their own training programs at a national level and the systems they're sitting within is something that we're really interested in, because if you think about the micro, meso, macro model, where is the ambition to move from the micro to the meso and the macro focus? And we're interested in thinking about how do we help people along that journey to improve their performance and improve the impact in their system, which will ultimately improve their performance. If they're within a higher performing, more supportive system, then they're likely to do better in terms of international benchmarking. And so it's something we are really interested in looking at a bit more, so please do stay in touch.
Yes, hello. My name's Paul Common. I'm a freelance sort of researcher consultant, but also doing some pro bono work for WorldSkills. And so it's great to see the development of the work around measuring impact. And I think, you know, even yesterday I had a conversation with one of the delegates from India asking basically the same question about, you know, what sort of impact might you report on over the last 15 years of the journey that WorldSkills has been through in India? And there are some really interesting sort of impacts that they referred to that would fall into the, you know, micro, meso, macro framework that you've got, but were quite unexpected, you know, including, for example, how a private provider, because India has put a lot of effort into developing a private training market, how private providers are wanting to say, I want to be able to market my centre by saying that one of my students has participated in WorldSkills India. And so I'm going to invest in my centre in terms of facilities and equipment, as well as, you know, maintaining quality standards, etc., to be able to achieve that. So, you know, I think there's still a lot of work that could be done to really unpack what those different sorts of impacts are and really flesh out that framework through a deeper research base around what the experience of individual members has been. I think also, you know, it's worth reflecting on the fact that some WorldSkills organisations are not necessarily well connected with the systems that they operate in. You know, they're independent organisations. They're not necessarily part of government or connected to the regulatory bodies or the governance structures. So, as Neil was saying, I think giving them the tools to think about how might we increase our impact, not only from a self-survival perspective, but also in terms of, you know, broadening our impact, would be really useful. So, yeah, you know, good luck for the, the next 10 years. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Any comments, any responses? I think that was a comment, not a question, but I just want to make sure. Okay. I saw a hand up there. I'll bring my...
Okay, thank you. Thomas Meyer from Austria. I'm also a member of the Research Council. And I would just like to echo what James has said before, that the main takeaway, I think, for us and for this discussion also is that this high potential of impact of WorldSkills, European skills, national skills competitions on national systems. But since this is, as we heard, rather elusive, because we don't have the data, because you know, organizations are not linked in many cases in many countries to the national systems, and since we have an employer here, I would like to move to the meso level to make it a bit more concrete and ask Rocío. You said earlier that you send your employees to national skills competitions, possibly also European or maybe even WorldSkills competitions. So why do you do that? Why do you support your employees to take part in skills competitions? And what do you do with the results when your people are coming back to your company? So this is a meso level impact, a very concrete one. Maybe you can answer that. Thank you.
So first of all, our employees are not there to compete or to support the competition. So we send our national head trainers and our field technicians to support the competitions. But we do have employees that were competing. So there are people working in our organization that they were winners of one local or regional competition. So I believe that the value we perceive is the commitment with everything can be learned in future, but you must have this commitment that you want to fight for it. And this is one of the major fears of employers, that they invest and there is not a real commitment in the young talent they are investing on. So it's like the fish we see is trying to eat his own, I don't know how to say in English, tail. I mean, but he's trying, they are trying to ask us as paint brand manufacturers, how can you guarantee me that the people I'm going to invest is people that will remain in my company, because they are looking for future. They are not looking for the present, they are looking for future. So I believe that the greatest value that an employer can perceive in a young talent or in a possible recruited person is the commitment to really continue being there, and the power, the passion they feel for this vocational profession. So we do have employers working with us that were coming from these competitions, and they, of course, adore to continue supporting the competitions. That's the best way to give visibility to the power of vocations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have come to the end of our session and our time is up. So I would like to thank again very much to our panel speakers, the coalition partners, and also I would like to thank our audience today. So thank you very much for your engagement and your interactivity. We can always continue the conversation over lunch in the networking area. I also want to let you know that in the afternoon we are going to continue, not us, but the conference is obviously continuing. So we will, the first session is going to start at 1 p.m. So after your lunch, if you can go to your sessions around 1 p.m., that would be great. And thank you very much again, and have a nice day.